Thank you, Jayan, for your generous introduction. I just wanted to add that after my retirement, I am associated with Mahindra Consultant as their senior consultant and handling quite a few practical problems which are very challenging and which has enriched my knowledge all over the years. Okay, today I am going to talk about fabric structures at Roper, which we have recently designed, and the construction work is about to start at site. My entire presentation consists of general comments on fabric structures, description of structures, components of fabric structures, analysis of structures involving pre-processing of data, pre-stress application analysis, review of results and reanalysis, design of central ring, design of base plate, cable to cable connection, laying of fabric and stressing of cables, softwares and codes of practice, and concluding remarks. The fabric structure is a new phenomenon for the last 15-20 years due to the tremendous development which has taken place in materials technology, in overall aesthetics, and the requirement from the industry. These are new generation structures, though fabric structures were known since a long time in terms of the umbrella which we have been seeing for maybe 1 or 2 centuries, and the tents which are used in temporary shelter applications and so on. In addition to that, the mosquito net also is used, which is also a kind of fabric structure. But these were very small time structures having very specific applications with limited applications over there. In last couple of decades, the demand from the industry has increased, and there is a great requirement for aesthetics, the structure which requires very large spans, which can cover stadiums or which can cover large exhibition halls and so on and so forth. These structures are lightweight, they are quite durable due to the various kinds of coatings which are available, and they can really span very large distance without any internal supports, which makes them ideally suited for covering large areas like swimming pools or cricket stadium, football stadiums, indoor game stadiums, and so on and so forth. Some of the celebrated examples which have been built in last couple of decades are, this one is the Millennium Dome in UK, which is 365 meter in diameter, and it has got 12 very tall masts from which cables are taken to support the fabric structure at relevant points. There are cables and there are steel structure elements. All of them finally give this massive structure 365 meter in diameter. This is one tent structure which is uh, an ideal application for shelters or you can say protection from sun and wind, and it can serve as a camping ground or it can serve as exhibition centers and so on and so forth. Then there are steel fab structures which are many times used in small coverings over passages or bus stops and so on. This one structure was built about 10-12 years back in New Delhi. It is a massive structure, elliptical in plan, with major axis of 100 meters and minor axis of 60 meters. It is covered with huge arches which span about 60 meters. Double arches are provided at two locations, and then there are peripheral columns which are 18 numbers. So with this massive area covered by this elliptical roof, this served as an ideal roofing structure for swimming pool which was constructed for the Commonwealth game in New Delhi. This one is a cricket stadium stand at Lord's Ground in London. This is having massive cantilevers of about 15 to 18 meters, and they have got the supporting columns on the back side, while the free end is tied up with cables. This one is a toll naka near Thane, on Thane, on Mumbai Agra Road. This has got peripheral columns 8 in numbers and one central column. The overall dimensions are about 25 meters by 25 meters, and it has got cables at the edges. The catenary cables are provided. The underside view is also shown here, where the central mast is provided, which takes the central portion high above the corners, and there are ladders provided or walkways provided underneath the roof for maintenance purpose over here. The structure that I am going to discuss is being built at Roper near Roorkee. Its overall features are in this way. It has got peripheral buildings about 3 to 4 story all around it. There are 3 passages through which one can go inside the open space over here. This entire area needs to be covered between the buildings. The overall dimensions are 73 meter in length in one direction and 57 meter in the other direction. It has got a central ring which is at elevation 4.45. The cables are tied to the ring, which go, some cables go below the ring and some cables go above the ring. The cables which go below the ring go to finally a level of minus 3.75, which means they go by about 8 meters below the ring, while the cables which go above the ring, they go up to elevation 11.4, which connect at the top of the building, that is at the terrace level, and base plates are provided at the tops of the columns or at the beams at the top level, which finally support the cables. This is another view of the same structure, where the central ring, which has only a schematic sketch over here, which has got cables going from the ring top to the edges or ring bottom to the edges. The connections are also required to be made, where either the cables cross each other or cables connect to the central ring or cables connect to the peripheral columns. The magnified view of the ring is shown, though this is only a schematic sketch. It doesn't show the actual section of the ring as such, but it schematically shows how the cables are attached at the top as well as at the bottom. This is side view of the same structure, which shows clearly that there is a central ring which is provided at some elevation, from which some cables go to the top of the building and some cables go down from the ring and connect to the sides of the columns which are provided in the building as such. This is a schematic diagram or the computer model of the cables only, where the central ring is shown, and there are many cables which go radially from the ring to the periphery, and there are many circumferential cables which add to the stability of the radial cables. This is one magnified view of the joint where the cables cross each other. If you see this particular type of joint, where we see that the cables are going in radial direction and some cables are going in the transverse direction, so we need to provide a proper connection where the cables cross each other. This is a overall isometric view of the entire roof. It has got 2 large openings which are required, the client's requirement, so that they were requiring to provide some vessels or some chimneys through the roof and going high above the roof as such. So these 2 openings were the requirements of the client. They were to be accommodated in the fabric itself. Now let us consider the components of these fabric structures. There are 6 major components of the fabric structures: the cables supporting roof, the central ring, then the turnbuckle and other tools which form part of the structure itself. Then we have got the fabric, we have got the joints at various places, and the base plate and the anchor bolts at the ends of the cables. Consider the catenary, the cables. There are various types of cable. They are named for depending upon their location and the function. This one cable which is provided at the edge of the fabric as such is curved, and according to the aesthetic requirement, these curved cables are provided and they are stretched to give proper geometry or proper orientation to the fabric as such. It provides a curved shape for the fabric, and gives the required curvature as planned. Then we have got the guy cables which are connecting to the cantilevers over here. They add stability to the cantilevers as such, because before the fabric is laid, the whole structure looks quite flimsy. To add to the stability and sturdiness of the structure, we need to provide these types of cables. In the present structure, these cables are not required. Similarly, we have got the tie-back cables. If there are columns on which the fabric is supported, then the columns need to be tied so that they are able to withstand the horizontal forces coming from the cable. In the present structure, this tie-back cable is also not required. The safety cables which are also provided to add to the stability of the given structure. Then the leader cables are provided again to provide the safe working points before the fabric is laid at the roof level. Now simple mathematical equations are provided which give us some relationship between the forces in the cables, the geometry of the cables, and so on. So we consider the span of the cable as S, the dip at the center as D, the horizontal and vertical reactions as H and V, and uniform load W per unit length on the cable. From simple statics, we get the horizontal reaction as W into S square upon 8D, and the vertical reaction as W into S by 2. Plus, these are some of the geometric relationships which give us the length of the cable depending upon the radius into which the cable is bent, and the angle subtended at the center, and so on and so forth. The total tensile force is given by square root of H square, the horizontal reaction, plus V square, the vertical reactions, and so on. The properties of the cable, mechanical properties, are utilized in finally determining the elongation of the cable, the strength of the cable, the adequacy of the cable, and so on and so forth. For solid steel bar, the Young's modulus is 210 gigapascal. The ultimate strength is 400 to 800 megapascal, while the strain at 50% ultimate stress is about 0.24%. For steel strand, it is 170 gigapascal, the Young's modulus, and the ultimate strength is about 1550 to 1770 MPa, while the elongation at 50% ultimate stress is 1%. Similarly, we have got the wire rope. Mainly for cables, these tension structure, we use wire ropes, which has got the Young's modulus of 112 gigapascal, and the ultimate strength is 1550 to 1770 megapascal, while elongation is slightly more than steel strand, which is about 1.5%. Now we have got the central ring. The schematic diagram is again shown over here. In this sketch is shown the diameter of the cable, the ring, which is roughly 8 meters, and cables are tied to it at its periphery. The actual section of the ring is like this. We have got the ring of 8-meter diameter, outer diameter. The cross section of the ring is 800 millimeter by 800 millimeter by 20 millimeter as the wall thickness. In addition to the ring, we are providing two stiffeners to it, a diametral stiffener going from one end to the other end, with the same cross section of 800 millimeter by 800 millimeter by 20 millimeter. These members form the ring with adequate stiffness, so that massive forces from the cables are properly resisted and transmitted. Then we have got the turnbuckle, which is used to finally lay the cable and to hold it in taut position, so that the required geometry is maintained at different locations. There is specialized hardware which is also required when you consider the catenary cable or intermittent cables, where the fabric is also to be connected to the cables and so on. So several specialized hardwares are required to finally execute the project. Then we have got the important element of the fabric structure, and that is the fabric itself. There are two types of fabric available. One is the PTFE, that is polytetrafluoroethylene, a Teflon coated glass cloth which is very strong, and the other one is the PVC, polyvinyl chloride coated polyester cloth. Now this PVC cloth is not as strong as the other one. Polyester fabric is roughly having modulus of elasticity 7.5 gigapascal. Ultimate tensile strength is 910 megapascal, while strain at 50% ultimate stress is 6%. While the other fabric, which is PTFE or aramid fiber, has got Young's modulus 112 megapascal. Ultimate strength is very high, 2800 megapascal, and the strain at 50% ultimate stress is roughly 2.5% over here. The weight of the fabric is generally 1000 gram per square meter, or roughly we can say 1 kg per square meter. The fabric to be used in the fabric structure needs to be properly cut, stitched and assembled in such a way that the desired shape is finally obtained. The cutting and stitching of fabric is done using automated, highly specialized machines which are integrated with analysis and design software. The analysis and design software is directly having some you can say functions which utilize the data from the design and transfer it to the fabric to finally give us the fabric in pieces, which is to be finally assembled and laid into the final position. There are very important joints in the given fabric structure. One is the joint between the cable and the central ring. Then we have got a joint at cable and the base plate location. We have got the joint between the cables where the cables cross each other, the radial cable crossing the circumferential cable. Then we have got the catenary cable to steel member connection, and lastly we have got the steel member to steel member. In the present case, at the terrace level, we have provided steel members which are required for supporting the cables over there. The base plate on the sides are provided on the sides of the round columns which are part of the building, plus base plates are provided at the top of the RCC columns at the terrace levels. Now consider the analysis of the structure. A software called Membrane NDN is used for this purpose. To start with the process, we need to get the geometry which is generally developed in AutoCAD into a DXF file. So we have generated this type of geometry where there is the central ring shown at a required elevation. Then there are radial cables, there are circumferential cables, and the intermittent elements that you can see are the fabric itself, the fabric elements. We have got the catenary cables at the ends, and the steel members are shown at the periphery over here. So all this finally constitute the geometry which is generated in AutoCAD, and then it is imported into the given software Membrane NDN. Later on, the properties are assigned to various elements, like the properties of the cables, properties of the support, either the fixed support or a pin support. Then we have got the supporting steel frame and the fabric mesh as such. Thereafter, the loads are applied in terms of the dead load, which is weight of the fabric itself, or the live load, which is generally specified as part of the maintenance work. Then we have got the wind pressure, which is both the external and internal wind pressure. Then the next step is to apply the pre-stressing force depending upon the judgment. So some initial pre-stress is applied, which is later on corrected depending upon the response from the structure. The analysis is done and the deformed shape is determined. If the deformed shape is satisfactory and if all necessary number of cables are in tension, then the structure is accepted as it is. Otherwise, some modifications are made in the locations of the cables, in the forces in the cables, or in the supporting conditions, and so on and so forth. With all this done, then we are ready for post-processing. Post-processing involves the cutting pattern for the fabric, because that is one important step to be considered after the initial sizing of the members. So we use the pattern command to finally generate the cutting pattern for the given fabric. The pieces are to be cut as per the cutting pattern generated, similarly as per the boundary, and then various pieces are to be connected to each other at required edges to finally get a simple shape out of the fabric as such. Thereafter, the folding and unfolding scheme for the fabric is also generated so that the whole thing can be organized at the workshop level, where it is folded, the whole fabric is folded, and then it is transported to finally taken to the site for the installation. The output file consists of the reactions and the support which are used for designing the base plate, the anchor bolts, and so on. Then we have got the fabric stress, which is used to check whether the fabric is stressed within limits or not. Then we have got the deflection, which also is to be studied to indicate whether it is acceptable value or not. Then we have steel member forces used for designing the steel members. We have got the cable force just to check whether the diameter provided is adequate or not. And finally we have the summary of material. So we have got these reaction forces, the fabric stress, that is warp, the axial force, and the shear force over here. Then we have got the material list of the cables, material list involving beams. Then we have got the fabric, which is expressed in terms of its area and the weight, and so on and so forth. In the present case, we had to do the seismic analysis of the fabric structure because it is supported on buildings, and the buildings were designed for some ground motion. So we were given some input by the building design engineer that we had to incorporate that in our fabric structure to see whether the fabric structure remains in acceptable form during earthquake or not. So we had considered two types of displacements: the displacement in x direction, where the buildings in opposite faces, they move away from each other. So we have considered 200 millimeter movement. One building is supposed to move with respect to the other. Similarly, in y direction, we have considered the displacements. Each building was given a displacement, so we have applied finally the entire displacement at one end, and the other end was held firmly. With these displacements, we have checked whether the forces in the cables are within limit and whether the deflections are also within limit. In the present case, we found that the movement of 200 millimeter doesn't cause much increase in the forces, because we have designed it for much larger force, the wind force, and so on. Later on, we had considered the next task, that was for designing of the central ring. The central ring was subjected to various forces in different loading combinations. So they were considered one by one. The forces were applied, the bending moment diagrams or bending moment values were worked out, and the axial forces were added to that to finally check whether for all the loading cases the final stress is within limit for the section that we have selected. Then we have the base plate, considering the forces in the cable. So consider, for example, this force which is present in the lower cable. This force has got three components, x, y, and z. With these three forces, we had designed this plate, the base plate, the connecting plate. Then we had designed these gusset plates, which were adding stability to the connecting plate, and finally these bolts were considered to resist the forces coming from it in x direction, in y direction, and in z direction. So we have provided enough anchor bolts to resist these three forces with their eccentricities and so on. So this was the base plate for bottom cable to support, where the cable was connected to the sides of the circular column. Then we have the bottom cable connecting to the ring. So we have got this central ring, from which we have taken these two cables out from top and bottom, and then a vertical plate was welded to it. It was welded to the ring as well as to the top plate and the bottom plate. These welding were provided sufficient to resist the force coming from the cable. The force in the cable has got three components, again x, y, z components. So we have provided welding strong enough to resist all the three components, and a single pin was provided that you can see over here, which was meant to resist the axial force in the cable in terms of double shear. So these bolts were in double shear, So we have provided the required diameter for the bolt over here. This bolt was provided in 8.8 grade of steel, and I think it was 50 millimeter in diameter. Okay. Similarly, the top cable to the terrace base plate connection was provided. Here, this again on the same lines. At the top of the beam, we have provided a base plate. Then there were gusset plates and a connecting plate. So this was again designed in the usual way, and a pin was provided. This of 50 diameter to finally resist the force coming from the cable in double shear. Okay, similarly, top cable to ring connection was also planned in this fashion, so that we were able to properly transfer the load to the ring from the cable. Then we have one important joint, which is the joint between the cable to cable. So we have the radial cables and we have the circumferential cables. All of them are to be finally provided proper connection, so that they transfer the force effectively and remain in equilibrium and in stable configuration. This is one such joint where there are several cables going in radial direction, cables going in transverse direction. So we had to provide this kind of connection where the radial and circumferential cables cross each other. The schematic arrangement is shown over here, which you can see over here, that we have got this fabric connected to the steel plate over here. Then we have got this ring provided with a hole, so that the main cable goes through and through. And then there are other cables which are connected to the steel plates, and that steel plate is connected to the central circular plate, annular plate, through these bolts. So we have got a complex arrangement of transferring force from these circumferential cables, these radial cables. They are connected to this plate. This plate is connected to the through the bolt to the central ring, and that central ring is expected to transfer forces from one end to the other end. So this entire geometry was modeled with a finite element idealization, and we have checked the thickness whether it is adequate or not. The thickness was provided as 50 millimeters, and we have provided this one central ring and those four segments which I have just now indicated over here. Those four segments on which the cables are connected and the fabric is also connected, and finally a stable connection was provided at this location. The 3D rendered view of the same connection is shown over here. So this finite element analysis was carried out to determine whether the stresses are within limit or not. Okay. We have applied these forces from the cables and the stress analysis was carried out. This is a typical stress contour diagram that you can see, where the maximum stresses are reported, and we have checked whether they are within limit or not for the material that we have got over here. The sequence of construction is the next item at site, where firstly the base plates are fixed at various locations on the columns, on the sides of the columns with proper anchors and so on. Then the central ring is positioned at its final level and it is properly supported at the required elevation. Then the cable to cable joints are erected all around it at proper locations. Then we have to lay the radial and circumferential cables one by one, to join them and to tighten them initially so that they remain straight and so on. Then we have to lay the fabric, and during the laying operation we have to again tighten the cables to see that they finally remain in a taut condition with required geometry. And then we have got the stressing of the catenary cable at the periphery, where the required curved shape is then maintained or generated and kept in a stable orientation. For this purpose, we have used various softwares are available. Out of that, what we have used is the membrane NDN software for the analysis of tension and fabric structure. There are other softwares also available, RFEM for the analysis. Likewise, several patented softwares are available in market. One can use them for properly planning and designing the fabric structure. There is not much of help available from the codes of practice, except only one code is available for tensile membrane structure, that is ASCE ACI 55 volume 10. So this one code gives reasonable guidelines for planning a tensile structure, but otherwise most of the other countries or even the Euro code or the British code, they are silent about the codes of practice governing these tension fabric structures. In the end, I would say that this is a very challenging structure with great aesthetic appearance. So it is a structure which is attracting more and more architects or general designers or planners for getting a aesthetically pleasing structure. The structural analysis require non-linear, large deformation, finite element softwares like membrane NDN, which needs to be handled by highly competent and specially trained engineers, because one need to properly understand various intricacies of using this software. The connections in the fabric structure are very tricky and they need proper visualization for force transfer. It demands proper visualization of the forces being transmitted. Structural and functional requirements are to be properly accommodated, because you need to connect not only cables but you need to connect or join the fabric also. So we need to provide adequate surfaces at those locations. The stresses can then be determined after modeling the joint in finite element software and applying the relevant loads. The hardware and the connections fall in the category of mechanical components requiring strict quality control and accuracy in manufacturing. Cutting, joining, laying and fixing of fabric is a very specialized job requiring specialized softwares, machines and specially trained manpowers. This is again a very special field over here. And folding in shop of the fabric and unfolding at site is also to be properly planned, so that the entire operation is smoothly carried out. I think with this I come to the conclusion of my presentation, and I thank you all for giving me a patient hearing, and a big thank you for uh, considering the entire presentation for a new generation structure. Thank you.